Hey guys, it's time for chapter 8. I'm going to read to you chapter 8. It is called Snozzcumbers. I don't know what that means. We'll find out. Okay, let me start. But if you don't eat people like all the others, Sophie said, then what do you live on? Hi, Goops. That is a squelching, tricky problem around here, the BFG answered. In this slosh-flunking giant country, happy eats like pineapples and pigwinkles is simply not growing. Nothing is growing except for one extremely icky poo vegetable. It's called Snozzcumber. The Snozzcumber, cried Sophie. There's no such thing. My cat wants a lot of attention right now. Say hi, Goobs. Hello. Hi. Okay. Where was I? The BFG looked at Sophie and smiled, showing about 20 of his square white teeth. Yesterday, he said, we was not believin' in giants, was we? Today, we is not believin' in Snozzcumbers. Just because we happen not to have actually seen something with our own two little winkles, we think it's not existing. What about, for instance, the great squealy Scotch hopper? I beg your pardon, Sophie said. And the humplecrimp. What's that? Sophie said. And the rap rascal. The what? Sophie said. And the crupscoodle. Are they animals? Sophie asked. They is common animals, said the BFG contemptuously. I is not a very know-all giant myself, but it seems to me that you is absolutely know-nothing human being. Your brain is full of rotten wool. You mean cotton wool? Sophie said. What I mean and what I say is two different things, the BFG announced, rather grandly. I will now show you a Snozzcumber. The BFG flung open a massive cupboard and took out the weirdest looking thing Sophie had ever seen. It was about half as long, again, as an ordinary man, but was much thicker. It was thick around its girth as a parapulator. I don't know what that is. It was black and white stripes along its length, and it was covered all over with coarse knobbles. Now, I'm going to show you a picture. And in the picture, the giant's holding this thing. That's called a Snozzcumber. But you need to remember that the giant is a giant and that it doesn't look so big because it's in the giant's hand, but it's probably bigger than Sophie. You can tell me what it reminds you of. Snozzcumber. When I see it, it reminds me of a cucumber, but it is huge. So it's like a massive cucumber. Here is the repulsive Snozzcumber, cried the BFG, waving it about. I squoggle it, I mispise it, I desponge it, but because I is refusing to gobble up human beings like the other giants, I must spend my life guzzling up icky poo Snozzcumbers instead. If I don't, I will be nothing but skin and groans. You mean skin and bones? Sophie said. Excuse me. I know it is bones, the BFG said, but please understand that I cannot be helping, and if I sometimes say things a little squiggly, I is trying my very best all the time. The big friendly giant looked suddenly so forlorn that Sophie got quite upset. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to be rude. There never was any schools to teach me talking in giant country, the BFG sadly. But couldn't your mother have taught you? Sophie cried. My mother? Cried the BFG. Giants don't have mothers. Surely you is knowing that. I did not know that, Sophie said. Who ever heard of a woman giant? Shouted the BFG, waving the Snozzcumber around his head like a lasso. There never was a woman giant. There never will be one. Giants is always men. Sophie felt herself getting a little muddled. In that case, she said, how were you born? I was wondering the same thing. Giant isn't born, the BFG answered. Giants appears, and that's all there is to it. They simply appears. Same way as the sun and the stars. And when did you appear? Sophie asked. Now, how on earth can I be knowing a thing like that? Said the BFG. It was so long ago I couldn't count. You mean you don't even know how old you are? No giant is knowing that, the BFG said. All I is knowing about myself is that I is very old and crumply, perhaps as old as Earth. What happens when a giant dies? Sophie asked. Giants is never dying, the BFG answered. Sometimes, and quite suddenly, a giant is disappearing and nobody's ever knowing where he goes to, but mostly us giants is simply going on and on like whiffsy time twiddlers. The BFG was still holding the awesome Snozzcumber in his right hand, and now he put one end into his mouth and bit off a huge hunk of it. He started crunching it up, and the noise he made was that of crunching of lumps of ice. It's filthy, he spluttered, speaking with his mouth full and spraying large pieces of Snozzcumber like bullets in Sophie's direction. Sophie hopped around on the table, ducking out of the way. It's disgustrous, the BFG gurgled. It's sickable, it's rotsome, it's maggot-wise. Try it for yourself, this foulsome Snozzcumber. No, thank you, Sophie said, backing away. It's all you're going to be guzzling around here from now on, so you might as well get used to it, said the BFG. Go on, you snipsy little winkle. Have a go. Sophie took a small nibble. Ugh, she sputtered. Oh no, oh gosh, oh help! She spat it out quickly. It tastes like frog skins, she gasped, and rotten fish. Worse than that, cried the BFG, roaring with laughter. To me it's tasting of clock coaches and slime wanglers. Oh, there's a picture of him spitting it out. And Sophie is that little one right there. Do we really have to eat it? Sophie said. You do, unless you want him to become so thin you will disappear into thick air. You mean thin air? Sophie said. A thick ear is something quite different. Once again, that sad, winsome look came into the BFG's eyes. Words, he said, is such a twinkling problem to me all my life. So you must simply try to be patient and stop squibbling. As I am telling you before, I know exactly what words I am wanting to say, but somehow or other they're always getting squiddled around. That happens to everyone, Sophie said. Not like it happens to me, the BFG said. I is speaking the most terrible Wiglish. I think you speak beautifully, Sophie said. You do? Cried the BFG, suddenly brightening. You really do? Simply beautifully, Sophie repeated. Well, that is the nicest present anybody has ever given me in my whole life, cried the BFG. Are you sure it's not twiddling my leg? You mean so funny. He means like pulling his leg. Of course not, Sophie said. I just love the way you talk. How wondercrump, cried the BFG, still beaming. How whoopsie splunkers, how absolutely squiffling. I is all of a stutter. Listen, Sophie said, we don't have to eat Snozzcumbers. In the fields around our village there are all sorts of lovely vegetables, like cauliflower and carrots. Why don't you get some of those next time you go visiting? Excuse me. The BFG raised his great head proudly in the air. I is very honorable giant, he said. I would rather be chewing up rotten Snozzcumbers than snitching on things from other people. You stole me, Sophie said. I did not steal you very much, said the BFG, smiling gently. After all, you is only a tiny little girl. And that is the end of that. So, it's getting interesting to me. I'm really curious what he's going to do with her. And how they're going to survive on Snozzcumbers. That sounds disgusting. If it was cucumbers, I would eat it. I don't know about Snozzcumbers. Alright guys, well I hope you're enjoying. As always, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And don't forget to tell your friends that your crazy teachers are on YouTube talking to you. Even though it feels like I'm talking to myself into a camera. We are here hoping that you're watching. And we miss you all so very much. See you later.